जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुनातीरावनचारी। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना। यमुनातीरावनचारी। यमुनातीरावनचारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय राधा माधवा कुंज विहारी। जय कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। कृष्ण रुक्मिणी जय सत्यभामा। जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय। जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 प्रभुपाद। जय विष्णुपाद परमंस परिव्राजगचरेष्ठोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस ऐसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय विष्णुपाद परमंस परिव्राजगचरेष्ठोत्तर सत श्री श्रीमद डिवाइन ग्रेस श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्त वृंद की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। श्री श्री कृष्ण रुक्मिणी सत्यभामा की जय। श्री श्री गौरनिताय की जय। जगद्गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25, The Glories of Devotional Service, Text number 21. Titikshavaha Karunikaha Titikshavaha Karunikaha Titikshavaha Karunikaha Suhridaha Sarva Dehinam Suhridaha Sarva Dehinam Suhridaha Sarva Dehinam Ajata Shatravaha Shantaha Ajata Shatravaha Shantaha Ajata Shatravaha Shantaha Sadhavaha Sadhu Bhushanaha Sadhavaha Sadhu Bhushanaha Sadhavaha Sadhu Bhushanaha Titikshavaha Karunikaha Suradaha Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatravaha Shantaha Sadhavaha Sadhubhushanaha Titikshavaha Karunikaha Suradaha Sarvadehinam Ajata Shatravaha Shantaha Sadhavaha Sadhubhushanaha. Titikshavaha, tolerant. Karunikaha, merciful. Suhridaha, friendly. Sarvadehinam, to all living entities. Ajata Shatravaha, inimical to none. Shantaha, peaceful. Sadhavaha, abiding by scriptures. Sadhubhushanaha, adorned with sublime characteristics. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Kindly repeat. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. A sadhu, as described above, is a devotee of the Lord. His concern, therefore, is to enlighten people in devotional service to the Lord. That is his mercy. He knows that without devotional service to the Lord, human life is spoiled. A devotee travels all over the country from door to door, preaching, be Krishna conscious, be a devotee of Lord Krishna. Don't spoil your life in simply fulfilling your animal propensities. Human life is meant for self-realization or Krishna consciousness. These are the preachings of a sadhu. He is not satisfied with his own liberation. He always thinks about others. He is the most compassionate personality towards all the fallen souls. One of his qualifications, therefore, is Karunika, great mercy to the fallen souls. While engaged in preaching work, he has to meet with so many opposing elements, and therefore the sadhu or devotee of the Lord has to be very tolerant. Someone may ill-treat him because the conditioned souls are not prepared to receive the transcendental knowledge of devotional service. They do not like it, that is their disease. The sadhu has the thankless task of impressing upon them the importance of devotional service. Sometimes devotees are personally attacked with violence. Lord Jesus Christ was crucified. Haridas Thakur was caned in 21 marketplaces, and Lord Chaitanya's principal assistant, Nityananda, was violently attacked by Jagai and Madhai. But still, they were tolerant because their mission was to deliver the fallen souls. One of the qualifications of a sadhu is that he is very tolerant and is merciful to all fallen souls. He is merciful because he is the well-wisher of all living entities. He is not only a well-wisher of human society, but a well-wisher of animal society as well. It is said here, Sarva Dehinam, which indicates all living entities who have accepted material bodies. Not only does the human being have a material body, but other living entities, such as cats and dogs, also have material bodies. The devotee of the Lord is merciful to everyone, the cats, dogs, trees, etc. He treats all living entities in such a way that they can ultimately get salvation from this material entanglement. Shivananda Sena, one of the disciples of Lord Chaitanya, gave liberation to a dog by treating the dog transcendentally. There are many instances where a dog got salvation by association with a sadhu, because a sadhu engages in the highest philanthropic activities for the benediction of all living entities. Yet, although a sadhu is not inimical towards anyone, the world is so ungrateful that even a sadhu has many enemies. What is the difference between an enemy and a friend? It is a difference in behavior. A sadhu behaves with all conditioned souls for their ultimate relief from material entanglement. Therefore, no one can be more friendly than a sadhu in relieving a conditioned soul. A sadhu is calm and he quietly and peacefully follows the principles of scripture. A sadhu means one who follows the principles of scripture and at the same time is a devotee of the Lord. One who actually follows the principles of scripture must be a devotee of God, because all the Shastras instruct us to obey the orders of the personality of Godhead. Sadhu, therefore, means a follower of the scriptural injunctions and a devotee of the Lord. All these characteristics are prominent in a devotee. A devotee develops all the good qualities of the demigods, whereas a non-devotee, even though academically qualified, has no actual good qualifications or good characteristics according to the standard of transcendental realization. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namavo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Mande Shri Gurum Dina Taranam. Once Prabhupada was traveling from Mauritius to Durban, South Africa. Normally Prabhupada, whenever he would travel, he would have at least 2 devotees traveling with him. One would be his personal assistant and one more devotee accompanying Prabhupada and the other devotee. This time also, and generally when Prabhupada would travel, the personal assistant would sit along with Prabhupada. Normally devotees would book the first class for Prabhupada, and the personal assistant would be with Prabhupada in the same class, and the other devotee would be sitting behind in an economy class. Generally, this is the way they used to travel those days. So this time, Prabhupada was traveling from Mauritius to Durban. It so happened, this was an international flight. It was going actually from Australia all the way to South Africa. And on the way, it had stopped in Mauritius, and the devotees got into the flight there. It so happened that the previous day, there had been a rugby match between New Zealand and South Africa. And all the fans of South Africa team, they had all come to the place where they come to the rugby venue. And the day when Prabhupada was going to Durban, all these people, fans, rugby fans, they were all traveling. They had finished the match and they were all traveling back to Durban, South Africa. Now these rugby fans, these soccer fans, they are all a different league, different kind, little bit wild. This devotee, Prabhupada was sitting in his seat, and along with him the personal assistant of Prabhupada was also sitting. And in international flights, they allow the serving of alcoholic beverages. So as it is rugby fans, now they are getting nice alcohol. Mood was completely different. And they were quite noisy and making a lot of noise and all that. And of course, nowadays they don't allow smoking. But in those days, even the flights, they used to allow smoking also. There used to be a non-smoking section and a smoking section. Those who wanted to smoke can go to the smoking section and they can smoke there. I don't know whether it's there today or not. In the international flights where I have gone, smoking was not allowed in any of those flights. Maybe some flights it may be allowed, I don't know. But in those days, this was the system. There used to be a non-smoking section of the aircraft. Another is a smoking section. And Prabhupada and the devotees had booked the Prabhupada in the non-smoking section. They were seated in the non-smoking section. And all around these rugby fans, they are all nicely drinking, and they started smoking also. And in the non-smoking section, they are sitting and smoking. The personal assistant of Prabhupada, he thought, so this is naturally, for a non-smoker, if you are doing passive smoking, it is troublesome. It's distressing. This devotee, he called the air hostess and told her, please tell them they are sitting in the non-smoking section, they should not smoke. The air hostess went and dutifully told the people who were smoking in the non-smoking section, but they didn't bother. They didn't care. They continued smoking, drinking, making noise, everything was going on. This devotee was silent for a little while. Then, Prabhupada, founder Acharya of a great institution, international organization, pure devotee, Guru Maharaj, and he is sitting there and these people are sitting behind and smoking. So after a little while, he thought, okay, this is not working. He thought, the devotee, the assistant, he thought, let me call that air hostess and again tell them to stop smoking. So he called the air hostess. Immediately, Prabhupada turned to this devotee and he said, what is the difference between us and them if you are not able to tolerate this little thing? Don't act like a common, foolish, ignorant man. Just tolerate. So that devotee also, it was a shocking thing for him. Okay, he said, okay, let us tolerate. So you see, normally, when you have some big personality, some very eminent personality, you have all kinds of people, isn't it? They normally, when they are traveling, if you see in some aircraft, if any of these big people, some CEO of some company and some big international organization is some high-level executive, if he is flying, little bit inconvenience means they will become very angry, they will get upset, they will start abusing the people, all sorts of things will start happening. I remember personally, once I was flying, I think I was flying out of Delhi into Bangalore or something like that, long back. So I had gone to the airport, I was running a little late and it was early morning 6 a.m. flight, so the airport was full and a lot of people, and it was taking more time for the checking in. Checked in the baggage, went to the security area, and in the security area you have to take out your laptop and all those kind of things and put it on the mobile, everything you have to put it for the screening. So I went to the area and I rushed forward because I was running late. I rushed forward to put my gadgets into that screening belt. Suddenly I realized that there is already a queue of people standing there and I had crossed them. So then somebody told me, hey, I'm waiting here. So I turned around. I said, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. I went and joined the queue. Moment I joined the queue, one person, about 2 or 3 people ahead of that queue, ahead of me in that queue, he was standing there. He turned around. He had a gray hair. He had a gray beard. So elderly man, maybe about 50s. And well dressed. Looked like he was some senior person working in some company, must be. Good, nicely dressed pant, shirt and all that. He turned around and started firing me. You cannot see this much. So uncultured, this, that and all that. I said, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. I apologized. I folded my hands and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't notice. He became even more angry. Started shouting even more. Then I saw this is not working, so I turned my face and turned the other way. There was no other way. Then he became silent. You see, small thing, unknowingly I went some mistake, immediately recognized when I came back and joined the queue. This man is not able to tolerate. You become angry, shouting. Big people are like that. Little inconvenience, they cannot tolerate. Now here is Prabhupada, Acharya. He is the founder of an international organization. He is traveling all over the globe. Pure devotee, descended from the spiritual world. All fallen conditioned souls are here. What is their position when you compare it to Prabhupada? And Prabhupada is saying, tolerate. He didn't even a little bit, he was unaffected. He was unagitated. This shows how Prabhupada was so tolerant. So, another instance where Prabhupada showed so much tolerance. What happened in 67 or 68? I think it was 67, end of 67. Or maybe I think 68 only. Prabhupada had a third heart attack in New York. And Prabhupada actually got a stroke. So Prabhupada's entire left side was paralyzed. The devotees were all very new at that time. They were not very mature, very innocent devotees. They went and got a doctor. They could not understand what is wrong with Prabhupada. Prabhupada was lying. Prabhupada was saying that he is not able to move his left portion of the body. Prabhupada was feeling very weak, pain in the chest and all that. So they went and brought a doctor. The doctor diagnosed Prabhupada and he said he has got a cold. So the devotees were surprised. He's talking of cold. Then he prescribed some medicines and he went. Shri Krishna Rukmini Satyabhama ki jai. Then Prabhupada analyzed himself and he said, looks like I've got a heart attack. So the devotees thought, okay, let us do one thing, let us get one more doctor. They got another doctor. And this is not India, this is the United States of America. And the second doctor came and he diagnosed Prabhupada and said, looks like he has got a mild heart attack, better you take him to the hospital. So the devotees then thought, okay, heart attack, serious. We have to take Prabhupada to the hospital. Prabhupada's left side is paralyzed. We can imagine one doctor is coming and saying he has just got a cold, nothing else. That's the, competence of the doctors there. And so the devotees said, okay, let us take him to a hospital. Then they spoke to someone and some known person. Then he spoke to somebody else. And he said, take them to the Beth Israel hospital. They took Prabhupada there. And they took him in an ambulance. They called for an ambulance and took Prabhupada there. Got him admitted into the hospital. And the doctors were diagnosing, doing various tests every day. They were coming, taking blood, doing this, doing that. And they were not able to come to any conclusive diagnosis. And devotees are all anxious. And Prabhupada's condition is not improving. And then finally one doctor came and he said, you see, we are, all the tests we have done, it's not conclusive. So we need to do a spinal tap. I don't know what is a spinal tap. Anyway, whatever it was. So he came and all the devotees, he said, all of you have to go out. Nobody should be here. And he took out one big syringe. And he said, we have to do a spinal tap. Maybe they wanted to take out the spinal fluid or what, I don't know. And I don't know for what. So, and Prabhupada is so weak, elderly, and he is lying on the bed. So devotees did not know what to do. They said, okay, let us go with whatever the doctor is saying. We have to trust him. We'll put our faith in him. So they all vacated. And then the doctor, whatever he had to do, he did with the syringe, and then he walked out. Then the devotees came back into the room of Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was lying there with his eyes closed. One of the devotees asked Prabhupada, is it paining? Because, they saw one big syringe just gone in and come out. So is it paining? Was it painful, Prabhupada? They asked him. Prabhupada very calmly, peacefully said, we will tolerate. So you see, for us, even little headache means we will start calling out Amma, Appa, everything will start coming out. And Prabhupada is in so much pain, heart attack, the whole left side of the body is paralyzed, and these doctors are coming and doing spinal tap, I don't know what that is, and all kinds of things, and Prabhupada is peacefully tolerating. So in this example, we see how Prabhupada was tolerating physical pain. Physically, his body was in very bad shape, and Prabhupada was tolerating all the pain without complaining. In the first instance, it was less of physical inconvenience, it was more of mental inconvenience. These people are, they are not respectful, they are not following the rules. It is more on a mental scale. So, both on the physical and mental level, you can see how Prabhupada was so tolerant. That is what is being mentioned here. One of the characteristics of a sadhu is, he is titikshravaha. Sadhu means, devotee means, saintly person means he must be very tolerant. Prabhupada is giving the example of how even Jesus Christ was crucified by the very people whom Jesus Christ was working for their welfare. Those very people crucified him. And his own follower, Judas, he was the one who betrayed him. But still, Jesus Christ was so tolerant. He said, oh my Lord, these people don't know what they are doing. Please forgive them. And similarly, Prabhupada gives the example of Nityananda Prabhu, who was attacked by Jagai and Madhai. Even he did not become angry when he was personally attacked. He was tolerating. Similarly, Haridas Thakur, he also tolerated. Haridas Thakur was born in a Mohammedan family. But he became a great devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He was chanting 192 rounds of Hare Krishna mantra every day. Somebody went and complained to the local Muslim magistrate or whoever was the ruler that this fellow is a Muslim but he is chanting Hindu in God's name. This Muslim magistrate or ruler or whoever he was, he called for Haridas Thakur. The soldiers went and brought him. And he said, I heard that you are chanting Hindu God's name. Haridas Thakur very humbly replied, sir, so many people you are converting Hindus to Muslims. One Muslim became a Hindu. What is the big problem? Leave it, no. This man became angry. He said, You are talking like this, I will show you. And he ordered, take this man and cane him in 22 marketplaces. So they took him one after another to 22 bazaars and they were caning him. You can imagine. But Haridas Thakur, what did he do? He simply tolerated. Similarly, Prabhupada also. Great physical inconvenience, mental inconvenience, everything Prabhupada was ready to tolerate for the sake of, not for himself, but for preaching to all those fallen conditioned souls. To preach to all of us, to make us all devotees. Titikshavaha, Prabhupada exhibited this wonderful quality. Another time, Prabhupada was in New Jersey. In New Jersey, the devotees had a bungalow. And in a New Jersey is a state in the United States. And there are many cities in each state. Like our temple, we have Gopinathji temple in Edison, which is in New Jersey state. And in New Jersey, there is another city which is called Long Branch, which is a seaside city. You are from the US, right? So you must be, have you heard of it? Long Branch, anyway. That's what devotees have said. I have not been there, so this is not my version. This is what I have heard. So this, anyway, one city, it was a seaside city, and the devotees had got a bungalow there. It was a nice bungalow with, that whole place was surrounded by so many gardens full of blooming flowers in all the different kinds of plants. And because of the ocean, it was on the ocean side. There was just like we are here on the beach. So a lot of good breeze and salubrious weather and all that. And Prabhupada had come there. Govinda Dasi was there. She was with him. And Prabhupada was staying there. And one day, Prabhupada was sitting. It was around noon time. They were basking in the sun and sitting in the lawn in front of the bungalow. And they were sitting on the grass, and Prabhupada was seated on a chair, and Prabhupada was chanting. Govinda Dasi was seated on the grass below, and she was also chanting with Prabhupada. And suddenly she saw one slug. What we call in Tamil, we call it attai. A slug is a very, a slimy kind of reptile. And a small one, it will be about this much, maybe 2-3 inches long, blackish, slimy kind of, it's an ugly creature. And so Govinda Dasi suddenly saw next to her on the grass there was one slug. It moves very slowly. She saw that and she said, such a repulsive creature. She was looking at that, and she looked at Prabhupada and said, look at this. Prabhupada leaned forward, looked at it. Then he looked at Govinda Dasi and he said, please chant for that poor creature. You see how Prabhupada is so merciful. This is called Karunikaha. Prabhupada was so merciful, not only just to human beings, even to an insect, a pure devotee, a sadhu, he is very merciful. He thinks, how can I render some welfare activity for this poor living entity? This is the vision of a pure devotee. So how Prabhupada, he went to the United States and he preached to the hippies. So it is not that Prabhupada was showing mercy only to Americans or only to hippies or only to human beings. Prabhupada was merciful even to the insects. In fact, there is one discussion between, I think, Haridas Thakur and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Haridas Thakur, I think it is Haridas Thakur, he asked him that how do we benefit all these plants and trees and all these insects? How can they be benefited? How can they go back to Godhead? So Haridas Thakur replied that, oh my Lord, when we engage in Sankirtan, when a devotee chants the Hare Krishna mantra loudly, it benefits not only him, but it benefits all the living entities also. It benefits even the plants and trees and all the insects, all animals also. In our temple here, every day we are doing Sankirtan, Hare Krishna mantra, right? So just outside, you can see around outside the windows, all many trees, there is so many grass, there are so many cats roaming around, so many crows. They will all be hearing the Sankirtan. They are all benefiting from this. So this is the vision of a pure devotee, of a sadhu. He is merciful to everyone, not just to human beings. And therefore, he is a pure devotee is called Suhrudaha, Sarvadehinam. So all these characteristics, what we have to understand is, the sadhu is exhibits all these characteristics to all living entities. Sarvadehina. Sorry. Once in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and all the devotees, Prabhupada was staying in the Radha Damodar temple. The Krishna Balaram temple was still not built. And when Prabhupada was there, staying there for a few days, Prabhupada gave a series of lectures on Nectar of Devotion. You will see Nectar of Devotion lectures, there is a series. Prabhupada gave that sitting in that courtyard around, next to the Radha Damodar temple, in that courtyard, in that Bhajan Kutir and the Samadhi of that is there, Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami, that is there. Prabhupada used to give the lecture there every day. One devotee, he was one disciple of Prabhupada, one brahmachari, he was attending those lectures, and one day a doubt arose in his mind that he thought, now if one has to get liberated, one has to go back to Godhead, one has to be connected to the Guru Shishya Parampara stemming from Krishna. Unless one is connected to a proper bona fide Guru Shishya Parampara, one cannot be liberated. And Prabhupada, we all know, he is 32nd in the line of Guru Shishya Parampara, originating from Krishna. It is a bona fide Parampara. And how to get connected with the Parampara? One has to take Diksha or initiation from an Acharya who is in that Parampara. Prabhupada is very clear about this. If one has to go back to Godhead, one should take Diksha from whom? Diksha cannot be from a person who is appointed by some group of people or by some conditioned souls. He has to be a bona fide Acharya sitting in that disciplic succession, in the Parampara. Only from such an Acharya, if you take Diksha, you can go back to Godhead. Unfortunately, in ISKCON, we have the system where the GBC appoints somebody as a guru. So, but all these people who are appointed as gurus in ISKCON, they are not sitting in that Parampara. They are not part of that Parampara. They are not Acharyas in that Parampara. We have only 32 people in our Parampara who Acharyas who are sitting there, and Prabhupada is the current link in that Guru Shishya Parampara. So these people cannot occupy that position. So whomever they are giving Diksha to, they cannot take them back to Godhead. That is why Prabhupada made a very specific directive to the whole institution on July 9th that in ISKCON, Prabhupada will be the Acharya who will continue to give Diksha and take the living entities, conditioned souls, back to Godhead. This is the conclusion. This is the Siddhanta. Anyway, so this devotee was thinking, of course, at that time, Prabhupada was personally present, so there was no question in everybody's minds that Prabhupada is the only Diksha Guru. And so this devotee was thinking, so we get connected to the Parampara by taking Diksha from an Acharya who is in that Guru Shishya Parampara. So we are all very fortunate. That devotee was thinking about himself. I am very fortunate. I have taken Diksha from Prabhupada. So Prabhupada will take me back to Godhead. But we are distributing Prabhupada's books to so many millions of people all over the world. They are all reading Prabhupada's books, but they are not taking initiation. What will happen to them? How will they go back to Godhead? This question was gnawing on the mind of this devotee. That day, Prabhupada gave the Nectar of Devotion lecture, and he got up and he started walking. Prabhupada finished the lecture and he was walking back towards his room in the Radha Damodar temple. So this devotee ran up to Prabhupada and he asked him, Prabhupada, one question is running in my mind. We are distributing your books to so many people, and but they are not initiated by you. So how will they go back to Godhead? Prabhupada looked at him and he replied, anyone who reads my book, he is initiated. Because a person who reads Prabhupada's books and he accepts that what Prabhupada is saying is true, his journey back to Godhead has begun. That means his initiation into the journey back to Godhead has already begun. When we say initiation, Diksha means what? Divyam Janam Yato Dadyat Kuryat Papasya Sankshayam. These two are the components of Diksha. Diksha is the process by which Divya Jnana, transcendental knowledge, is instilled in the heart of the Jiva, and the Guru, the Diksha Guru, takes the disciple back to Godhead. This is the Diksha process. Now, the moment somebody reads Prabhupada's books and accepts that what Prabhupada is saying is true, it is the reality, and thinks, okay, let me start following that. What has happened? The seed of bhakti is sown within the heart. What is the seed of bhakti? What is this bhakti lata bija? Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. So what is this bhakti lata bija? What is this bija? What is this seed? Prabhupada explains all the rules and regulations involved in executing devotional service. Like we have to follow a certain sadhana, we have to chant 16 rounds, we have to follow the 4 regulative principles, we have to fast on Ekadashi. All these rules and regulations constitute the seed of bhakti. And who is giving the seed of bhakti in ISKCON? It is Prabhupada. We follow 16 rounds. Who has told us to chant 16 rounds? It is given by Prabhupada. 4 regulative principles, who has given? It is given by Prabhupada. Our sadhana, morning 4:30, we have to get up and we have to do Samsara Daman Lalida, we have to sing. Who has given that? Prabhupada. We do Arati 7 times for Guru, then 7 times for Mahaprabhu, then 7 times for Radharani, then 7 times for Krishna. Who has given this procedure? Prabhupada has given. So all the bija for bhakti is sown in our heart by whom? By Prabhupada. And Prabhupada is sowing the seed of bhakti in our heart, and therefore, according to the verse from the Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bija. Who plants the seed of bhakti in our heart? It is the Guru and Krishna. And who is that Guru? That Guru is the Diksha Guru, who has initiated us into the process of Diksha Vidana, by which transcendental knowledge will be revealed in our heart, and we will be able to, all our past sinful reactions are destroyed, and we will be taken back to Godhead. So, Prabhupada is doing this. How? Anybody takes Prabhupada's books and starts reading, what is happening? Transcendental knowledge is getting injected into the heart. Initiation has begun. That is the first aspect of initiation. Divyam Jnanam Yato Dadyat. So you see, so Prabhupada he is the well-wisher of all living entities. And Prabhupada is not waiting for the living entity to come and approach him and surrender to him and say, Prabhupada, I want to take Diksha from you. In the olden times, what used to happen was the spiritual master would run a Gurukula, and those who wanted to become his disciples would come to him and seek his shelter and pray to him that please accept me as your disciple. Then the Guru will assess, okay, should I give him initiation, not give him initiation? There are so many examples. Like Ekalavya went and approached Dronacharya. He said, I want you to act as my Guru, but he refused. So Guru sometimes refuses also. But now look at Prabhupada. Prabhupada is not waiting, let the living entities, conditioned souls come to me. If they come to me, I will assess, and then I will decide whether I want to take them back to Godhead or not. No. Prabhupada is Suhridaha Sarvadehina. Suhrit means what? Suhrit means, in Sanskrit, when we speak of a friend, in English there is only one word, friend. But in Sanskrit, when we speak of friends, there is Mitra, there is Sakha, and there is Suhrit. Mitra means hi, bye, friend. You see him, whenever you see him, you give a smile and hi, how are you? That's all. Sakha means little more intimate. We have friendly dealings between the two of us. Suhrit means, if I am your Suhrit, I will be constantly thinking how I can do good for you without your asking me. Mitra means, friend means what? Normal friend means, if I have trouble, I go and ask him, I have a problem, can you help me? He may help me, he may not help me. Suhrit means, I don't even ask him, he is thinking how I can be benefited. This is Suhrit, very intimate friend, very deep friend. Prabhupada is Suhrida Sarvadehinam. He is not waiting. Let the conditioned soul come to me, then I will think whether I want to accept them or not. He is acting as a Suhrit. He is telling his disciples, go and distribute my books to everyone and anyone, whomever you meet. And whoever reads Prabhupada's books, immediately Prabhupada starts injecting transcendental knowledge in their heart without their actually asking for it. They are not thinking that, oh, I want spiritual knowledge, so let me read Prabhupada's books and then acquire. No. Somewhere somebody is walking in the airport, walking in the railway station, walking on the road, some devotee came and thrust a book into his hand. Anyway, something looks attractive, let me buy. And he buys it. Anyway, I paid money for it, let me sit and read. He starts reading. And then what happens? One after another, transcendental realizations start dawning upon him. How Prabhupada is, you see, such a suhrit he is. He is not waiting, he is not thinking, let that person come and surrender to me, then I will give transcendental knowledge. Without waiting for that, Prabhupada is thinking how I can benefit all the conditioned souls in this material world, irrespective of whether they are desiring it or not. This is called suhrit. So, Prabhupada is suhridaha sarvadehina. Another instance, one devotee remembered that once Prabhupada was in his room, and outside his room there was one devotee. Normally, Prabhupada would be in his room translating his books and all that, and Prabhupada's assistant would be always outside the room. If Prabhupada wanted anything, he would ring a bell and this devotee would come, and then Prabhupada would ask for whatever he wanted. This personal assistant was sitting outside Prabhupada's room, and another devotee, he went and asked him, has Prabhupada ever told you where Prabhupada is going to preach in the next life? This devotee said, because he asked the personal assistant, because he's always with Prabhupada, so many people are coming to meet Prabhupada, Prabhupada is talking all the time, he must have heard something. So this devotee told him, I don't remember having heard Prabhupada talk about this at all, never heard Prabhupada talking about this. Anyway, it's a good question, let me go and ask. And immediately he knocked on the door and went inside. And this devotee is waiting outside. He went inside, asked Prabhupada, and he came out. And this devotee is waiting. What is the answer Prabhupada is going to give? Where is Prabhupada going to go? Is he going to come back to America? Or is he going to Swargaloka? Or is he going back to spiritual world? Where is he going next? So the devotee came back and he replied, Prabhupada said, he is going to go to the hellish planets to preach in the next life. And this devotee says he was zapped. So look at Prabhupada's concern for the living entities. He is not thinking of how to have a comfortable position for himself. He's thinking so much about the welfare of the conditioned souls. Prabhupada is ready to go to the hellish planets to preach there and liberate the conditioned souls there. This is suhridaha. Prabhupada is proactively thinking about how I can benefit the conditioned souls without their asking for it. Not only this earth, Prabhupada is even thinking the hellish planets also have to go and liberate them. This is called suhridaha sarvadehina. In another instance, once what happened was, titikshavaha karunikaha suhrida sarvadehina. In another instance, Prabhupada had gone to Mexico, South America, to preach. And the devotees, there was no temple in Mexico yet at that time. Later on, of course, the temple came and Prabhupada stayed at the temple and all that. I think Prabhupada visited that Mexico temple twice. Beautiful temple. Now, this was before that temple had come up. Devotees had organized one well-wisher's house where Prabhupada could go and stay. And then they had organized some meetings and all that and preaching opportunities and all that. And Prabhupada was staying in that room and staying in that donor's or that well-wisher's house. And Prabhupada had to take rest. So a separate room was organized for Prabhupada to take rest. And the devotees escorted Prabhupada to the room, ensured that all the bed matters, everything was laid properly and all that. And they closed the door and went out. Normally, Prabhupada would take rest for about 1.5 hours, maximum 2 hours. And then Prabhupada would call his assistant and then Prabhupada would resume his preaching activities. So this devotee went, closed the door, and he thought, okay, another 1 or 2 hours Prabhupada is going to take rest. But within a few minutes, he heard Prabhupada calling him. And he hurried back into the room. And he saw Prabhupada was sitting on the cot. And there were tears flowing down Prabhupada's eyes. So he said, Prabhupada, what happened? And Prabhupada looked up at the wall. And he showed on the wall, because this was Mexico, it was some Christian man, his house. So on the wall was a picture of Jesus Christ crucified. Normally, all Christians, that's what, every church you go, everywhere they have Jesus Christ on the crucifix. Prabhupada pointed to that and he said, look at these people, they killed their spiritual master so that they can continue sinning. It is very painful, please take this picture away from the room. And the devotee, he took that picture down and shifted it to another room, and then he left Prabhupada to himself in that room. You see, normally what happens is, when we follow a certain religion or a certain path, other people of other religions or other preachers or other religious leaders, we don't have any attachment for them. We don't feel anything for them, right? We are followers of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. There are people followers of Ramanujacharya. There are followers of Madhvacharya. There are followers of Shankaracharya. We have great respect for them. But, there is a certain kind of distance between us and them. They are different, we are different. And between religious heads, if you see, one will be a rival of another. No two religious heads will speak highly of another. You will never hear one Shankaracharya speaking very highly of Madhvacharya's Sampradaya Sam Sannyasi, or Madhva Sampradaya Sam Sannyasi speaking highly of some Ramanuja Sampradaya. You don't find, because they keep to themselves and they have some sort of rivalry. It's natural. In this material world, all this is natural. But you look at Prabhupada. Prabhupada never looked upon whether it was Muhammad the Prophet, or it was Ramanujacharya, or it was Jesus Christ. Prabhupada never looked upon them like rivals. For Prabhupada, even Jesus Christ is a great devotee who is preaching on behalf of Krishna. He looks at him like that. He is not thinking Jesus Christ is some other religion. We are following Sanatana Dharma. This is Christian religion. Something they are following. No. Look how much Prabhupada is feeling even for Jesus Christ. In one sense, there is no connection between the two. In another sense, there is a very strong connection, because both are devotees of Krishna. Both are engaged in preaching the message of the Supreme Lord. But you see how Prabhupada never saw anybody else as a rival or a competitor. So this is called Ajata Shatravaha. A pure devotee, a sadhu, never sees any other person as a competitor or a rival or an enemy. Although other people may consider, this person is my enemy, but that sadhu will never think of others as his enemy. So this is another characteristic of a sadhu. Titikshavaha karunikaha suhradaha sarvadehinam ajata shatravaha. Prabhupada was an ajata shatru. So Prabhupada never looked upon anybody as an enemy. This is very prominent in Prabhupada's life. One more instance, what happened was, once Prabhupada was again flying, and Prabhupada was flying from Singapore to Australia. And as usual, Prabhupada was there, Prabhupada's assistant, and there was one more devotee in the economy class. And they were in this international flight, flying from Singapore to Australia. And when they were flying, it so happened that in mid-air, looks like there was some problem, some major issue happened. Either they hit an air pocket or whatever happened. This devotee who was sitting in the economy class, he remembers, he was sitting, they were all with their seatbelt and all that. Suddenly, the plane fell fell in altitude for about 5 to 10,000 feet. It fell in a span of about 4 to 5 seconds. You can imagine, if you jump from a platform which is 2 feet high down to a ground also, forget about 2 feet. Suppose you jump from 6 feet high to the ground, it will create such an impact. Imagine in 4 to 5 seconds you are falling 10,000 feet. How it will be? Imagine. Now this devotee explains how when that happened, in about 5 seconds, the plane again became steady. So he said, after that, he felt as if his stomach had come into his mouth. The kind of momentum, the kind of impact with which we are falling 10,000 square feet in 5 seconds is unimaginable. So he felt like his whole stomach had come into his mouth. He was disturbed. Everybody was shouting, screaming, all these kind of things. And his heart is pounding and sweating and all those things. Then he thought, let me check on Prabhupada, because this young devotee in his 20s, imagine a young man like that in his 20s, he feels like that. Prabhupada is in his advanced age, 70s, how he would have felt. So this devotee, untied his seat belt and ran up to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was in the first class section. He ran up to Prabhupada and he asked Prabhupada, are you okay? Are you all right? He was in great anxiety. Prabhupada looked at him and he said, yes, we can die any time. Prabhupada is totally peaceful. All others are in great anxiety, Prabhupada is coolly seeing everything from a spiritual perspective. Any time we can die. This devotee was shocked and he said, okay, this is something for me to learn, and he went back and sat down. Prabhupada was completely unruffled. So you see how a devotee is titikshavaha karunikaha suhrada sarvadehinam ajata shatrava shantaha. A devotee a sadhu is peaceful under all circumstances. In a certain circumstance, we may become agitated. We may become filled with anxiety. We may become fearful for our life. But pure devotee is completely unruffled. He is always peaceful. So these are sadhava sadhu bhushanaha. These are the bhushana, these are the ornaments which decorate a sadhu. Normally, when we speak of ornaments, to decorate ourselves, we think of gold, diamond, jewels, etc. A sadhu is a person who has renounced the material world. He has got nothing to do with all this gold, jewelry, all these things. But he has another set of ornaments which decorate him. What are those ornaments? The qualities of being tolerant, merciful, friendly to all living entities, being not being inimical to anyone, and always peaceful and abiding by the scriptures always. These are the ornaments of a sadhu. And we can see how Prabhupada was brilliantly decorated with all these qualities. As Prabhupada explains in the purport, when a person has unflinching faith in Krishna, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatyakinchana, one who has got unflinching faith in Krishna, and one who is akinchana bhakta, one who is an unadulterated devotee of Krishna, and a devotee who has no other desire than the pleasure of Krishna, such an akinchana bhakta, yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatyakinchana, sarvair gunais tatra samasate suraha. All the wonderful qualities of the demigods reside in that devotee. Prabhupada is such a pure devotee, he is an akinchana bhakta. You will find all the wonderful qualities which are supposed to decorate a sadhu, which are given in the Vedic scriptures like the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad-gita. In the Bhagavad-gita also Krishna gives a list of wonderful qualities that are the symptoms of a sadhu. You will see all those qualities resplendent in Prabhupada. Because Prabhupada is yasyasti bhagavati bhaktir akinchana. He is an akinchana bhakta of Krishna. He is an unadulterated, pure devotee of Krishna, descended from the spiritual world. He is a nitya siddha. Naturally, all these qualities, they take shelter in such a pure devotee. And so, therefore, we can appreciate the greatness of Prabhupada when we see all these characteristics, and also when we read these verses from the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita, which describe the exalted qualities of pure devotee, we can see all of those qualities mirrored in Prabhupada in a very brilliant way. And so therefore we can understand how Prabhupada is a living Bhagavata. Prabhupada talks about person Bhagavata, book Bhagavata. Prabhupada is a person Bhagavata. He is a living, walking, living example of all the exalted qualities of exalted Vaishnavas which are described in scriptures such as the Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam talks of Prahlad Maharaj, Bhagavatam talks of Dhruva Maharaj, Bhagavatam talks of Kardama Muni, Bhagavatam talks of all such wonderful personalities. Narada Muni, Brahma, etc. We have not seen any of them, no. So we may think all nice descriptions, people of such exalted character, but actually can anybody possess them? Or is it all only in paper? Prabhupada showed us actually he is a person, living person, possessing all these qualities. So whatever is described in the Bhagavatam and Bhagavad-gita are not simply some stories or some theory, fiction. No, they are reality. It is reality. Prabhupada is a living Bhagavata. He is the Bhagavatam personified. And so therefore, as Kapila Deva informed Devahuti in the previous verse, today we are discussing verse 21. In the previous verse, verse 20, Prasangam majaram pasham atmanah kavayo vidhu saveva sadhushukrito mokshadwaram apavritam. So mokshadwaram apavritam. How are the doors of liberation opened? Kapila Deva had told Devahuti the attachment when applied to self-realized devotees. Saeva sadhushukrito mokshadwaram apavritam. Then what happens? The doors of liberation are opened. So what is the kind of sadhu to whom we have to get attached? That is described in today's verse. The sadhus, you cannot go by simply their dress, long beard, having flowing robes, and talking big words which nobody can understand. These are not what constitute a sadhu. Who is a sadhu? Sadhu who is titikshavaha, karunikaha, suhrudaha, sarvadehinam, ajatasatravaha, shantaha, sadavaha. One who is sadhu bhushana, one who is decorated with the ornaments of all these qualities. Such a sadhu we should become attached. So Prabhupada is a living example of all these qualities. So if we become attached to Prabhupada, then what will happen? Mokshadwaram apavritam. Our path back to Godhead is guaranteed. So we have to simply attach ourselves to Prabhupada and follow Prabhupada's instructions. Our going back to Godhead is guaranteed. So I'll stop here. Grantharaj Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.